Flames ripped through Yamato's decks as torpedoes and bombs tore her hull apart. Amid the chaos of Okinawa, 1945, Japan's greatest battleship faced annihilation. This is the sinking of the battleship Yamato and Operation 10 Go. To understand the scale of the disaster, just try and grasp Yamato's might. Launched in 1940, she was the largest battleship ever built, a floating fortress that dwarfed anything in the world's oceans. Displacing over 72,000 tons when fully loaded, her armoured decks and massive 18.1-inch guns symbolised Japan's naval ambition and industrial prowess. Yamato was more than a warship. She was a statement of dominance, the centrepiece of the Imperial Navy's strategy to challenge Allied naval power. Every sailor who served aboard understood the weight of responsibility, and every enemy who faced her knew the threat she represented. From ceremonial parades to combat exercises, Yamato projected confidence and national pride. Yet for all her size and firepower, she was designed for a very specific form of warfare, a battleship duel that by 1945 had become nearly obsolete in the face of American air superiority, a vulnerability that would soon prove catastrophic. But by 1945, even Yamato's immense power could not hide Japan's desperation. The island of Okinawa had become the final gateway to Japan, and Allied forces were closing in relentlessly. Months of sustained bombing and naval blockade had strangled Japanese supply lines, leaving the homeland vulnerable and morale dangerously low. In this desperate context, Operation 10 Go was conceived, a bold, almost suicidal plan to strike at the invading forces and delay their advance. Yamato, the pride of the Imperial Navy, was chosen to lead the mission, accompanied by a small escort of destroyers. The operation was not designed for victory. Rather, it was a symbolic effort to inflict damage and inspire hope among a nation teetering on the brink. Every sailor knew the odds were stacked against them, yet the belief in honor, duty, and the awe-inspiring might of Yamato propelled them forward toward a confrontation that would define the closing months of the Pacific War. As dawn broke, Japan's last hope sailed steadily toward almost certain destruction. Operation 10 Go was a mission born of desperation and honor. Yamato, accompanied by a handful of destroyers, set out on a one-way journey to Okinawa, fully aware that survival was unlikely. The plan was audacious yet grim: reach the Allied invasion fleet, inflict as much damage as possible, and inspire a battered nation with a display of courage and resolve. There were no air cover or reinforcements waiting. The battleship and her crew relied solely on their armor, firepower, and determination. Every gun turret, every sailor, every ounce of fuel was devoted to a single, decisive purpose. As Yamato steamed across the vast Pacific, her immense silhouette cast a shadow of hope for Japan and fear for her enemies. At the center of this high-stakes mission, Yamato was both a weapon and a symbol. A floating testament to a navy fighting against the tides of inevitability, if you will. But Yamato's journey did not go unnoticed. Enemies watched every calculated move. American intelligence had cracked Japan's communications, tracking the massive battleship as she steamed toward Okinawa. Reconnaissance planes shadowed her course, reporting position, speed, and heading to awaiting carrier groups. The US Navy, fully aware of Yamato's power, prepared waves of aircraft armed with bombs and torpedoes designed to exploit her vulnerabilities. The imbalance was stark. While Yamato boasted thick armor and colossal guns, she lacked sufficient air cover to defend against relentless aerial assault. From the decks of American carriers, pilots trained relentlessly, timing strikes to maximize damage and minimize risk. By the time Yamato approached Okinawa, the skies were already alive with US reconnaissance and attack squadrons, poised to unleash a storm of fire. For the crew aboard the mighty battleship, there was no element of surprise, only the knowledge that their journey had been seen, tracked, and awaited by an enemy who controlled the air above them. The Pacific sky soon erupted into a storm that would seal Yamato's fate. As Yamato pressed forward, American aircraft descended in relentless waves. Dive bombers screamed from the clouds, releasing bombs that slammed into the battleship's armored decks, while torpedo planes streaked low over the water, striking her hull with deadly precision. Each hit tore through steel and fuel lines, sending explosions and fireball eruptions across the deck. Crewmen scrambled to man anti-aircraft guns, but the volume of attacks was overwhelming. Smoke and flames obscured the horizon, turning Yamato into a moving inferno. Compartments flooded from torpedo strikes, and the once proud superstructure twisted under the impact of repeated blows. Fires spread uncontrollably, fueled by ammunition stores and fuel reserves, leaving little hope for containment. Amid the chaos, sailors fought desperately to save their ship, but Yamato, the mightiest battleship ever built, was being dismantled by the very skies she had no means to control. In minutes, her dominance vanished beneath waves of fire and steel. But even as destruction raged, the crew clung desperately to hope and duty. Below decks, sailors fought against smoke, flames, and flooding compartments with every ounce of strength. Fire hoses lashed at infernos that leapt from hangar to deck, while buckets and pumps became lifelines against unstoppable heat. Torpedo strikes had torn open sections of the hull, sending water and debris rushing through passageways. Crewmen risked their lives rescuing trapped comrades, carrying them from rooms engulfed in smoke or collapsing ceilings. Officers and petty officers coordinated damage control teams, issuing orders with a mix of authority and urgency, but the scale of the devastation was overwhelming. The mighty battleship that once commanded the seas now seemed to crumble under its own weight. Every second brought new explosions, new ruptures, and new losses. The shift from dominance to doom was terrifyingly fast, and Yamato's fate, despite the crew's courage, became painfully inevitable, a testament to the overwhelming power of modern aerial warfare. And when survival became impossible, the unthinkable command echoed through Yamato's burning decks. The order to abandon ship was given, and chaos mixed with sorrow as sailors scrambled toward the lifeboats and over the sides into the churning Pacific. Smoke and fire consumed the superstructure, while the screams of the injured and the frantic shouts of officers filled the air. Many were forced to leave comrades behind, trapped in compartments or pinned beneath twisted steel, knowing they would never return. Explosions continued to tear through the hull as torpedoes struck from below and bombs slammed from above, each strike accelerating the battleship's final moments. Slowly, Yamato began to list and break apart, her massive frame groaning under the combined assault. Water poured into gaping holes, and firestorms raged across the deck. Within hours, the pride of the Imperial Navy, once the largest and most powerful battleship ever built, slipped beneath the waves, leaving only smoke, debris, and the echoes of sacrifice in her wake. Yet even as Yamato disappeared beneath the waves, the consequences rippled through naval strategy. The loss of Japan's mightiest battleship exposed the fragility of surface fleets in the age of air power. Operation Tengo had failed before reaching Okinawa, demonstrating that even the largest and most heavily armored warships were vulnerable without adequate air cover. Japanese naval planners were forced to confront a new reality. Carriers and aircraft, not battleships, now dominated the seas. Morale among the surviving crews and naval leadership plummeted, while Allied forces gained confidence, realizing that Japan's ability to challenge their supremacy was severely diminished. Strategically, the operation underscored the futility of desperate, high-risk offensives without reconnaissance or air support, and reshaped Japanese tactics for the remainder of the war. The Pacific Ocean, once a theater where Yamato's presence inspired awe and fear, now became a reminder that technological evolution had shifted the balance irreversibly and that traditional naval dominance could no longer guarantee survival.